the guy's like, yeah, like I can't have you drive this car, but like I'm gonna turn the other way because I know you're in the middle of nowhere and I'm not gonna seize your license because you gotta check into hotels. Coolest cop. He's like, park in that parking lot and wait till I cannot see anything that's happening. So I was flying into Las Vegas to buy an E38 7 Series with an Alpina kit. Not sure whether it was genuine or not, but it was a beautiful car. It had some pixels out in the odometer, and the guy swears it was around 80, 90,000. So I said, there's no shot. It's like over 100, right? No, whatever. I hopped on a plane. I went out there. I picked up this nice Escalade rental car off Turo, and I drove to the E38, and I met him at a Firestone where they plugged in the computer to read the actual mileage, and it said, I think it was 293. I said, are you kidding me? You knew this. Whatever. Cursed him out, left. As soon as I got back in the Escalade, I started hopping on Facebook, and I saw in LA somebody had posted a Mercedes 190e 2.3 16 Cosworth. Dream car. It was automatic, which sucked, but for a cross-country drive, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to drive a Cosworth across the country right now, right? So I got in the Escalade and I drove it from Vegas to LA. Checked this car out. It was beautiful. The guy had just had it repainted. The interior was a little bit rough, but just had it repainted and it drove excellent. I bought it. I took it up Mulholland Drive, enjoyed it for a little bit. And then I spoke with one of my friends out there, Slang500 on Instagram, builds the coolest Mercedes. So I was like, where is a good shop that I could drop this off and have it worked on? He gave me the name of a shop. I dropped the car off. I hung out with him a little bit, drove around some of his cars, and they told me it was going to be a little bit to fix this. So I took the opportunity to get back in the Escalade and drive to Arizona and start looking at all the Route 66 towns, the small towns, just start car hunting. I was in Arizona on Route 66, and there were, a bunch of cool trucks and everything rust-free out there. There was one silver Lincoln town car that one of my business partners was looking specifically for an old town car to beat around in, and this thing was $2,000, beautiful, like beautiful interior, perfect paint. It was just a beautiful, beautiful car. So I kept it in the back of my radar. I'd actually driven the Escalade back to Vegas, left it there, and I feel so bad for the guy because I think the Turo listing allowed like 2,500 miles in the 10 days that I had it, and I gave it back with like 2,563. And he was like, well, it's a rental car, that's what it's there for, but I could tell he was like really hurting. So I think I threw him an extra $100 for the extra mileage. All was well. I hopped on a bus from Vegas to LA and picked up the Cosworth. Everyone's telling me this is a terrible idea. The Benz mechanic who just worked on it said, it's not going to make it home. My friends all out in Cali, like, this is a terrible idea. Like, that car's not going to make it. The seller told me I am nuts for even trying this, and it's not going to make it. And I was like, you're the seller. Like, I was the most nervous I've ever been going on a cross-country trip. Of course, this was from LA, like the coast of LA, to Long Island. It doesn't get any farther than that. I took the thing back to Vegas. I've probably visited Vegas like 5 times in this trip. And so I took the thing back to Vegas, got some sick rollers, hired a photographer, just went around, had fun for the night. And I was getting ready to start my next leg of the trip home when I got a phone call from a friend who said, you need to go to Houston right now. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a 22-hour detour for this car that everyone just told me wouldn't make it home in the first place. That's a little much. Then I remembered the town car. So I said, how urgent is it that I get to Houston? He's like, the E30 M3 quarter panels I've been looking for years. Guy has 2 of them hanging on the wall and a treasure trove of other E30 M3 parts, as well as a ton of E28 M5s and just a bunch of other cool BMWs. So I was like, all right, I have to go. He said, I'll pay you whatever. You got to get these quarter panels. So we hatched out a deal where he'd get me a U-Haul and I could tow whatever I drove down there home. And so I remembered the town car and I drove the Cosworth a little farther into Arizona, went back to the town with the town car, which was an extremely small town, Ash Fork, Arizona. And there was like a campground kind of where RVs and whatnot and people bring their trailers and like park it for a week and stay there. So I knocked on the door and I was like, would you let me leave a car here for the month? He's like, well, what kind of camper you have? I was like, the Cosworth. So he's like, I guess it could stay. He discounted the rate and everything. And I was like, thank you so much. I took my luggage out of the trunk. I took the plate off the back and I walked to the other side of town and I knocked on the guy with the Lincoln's door. And I was like, will that make it to Houston right now? And he's like, it has an air suspension leak, but I don't see why not. I said, cool, I'll take it. So I paid for it. I took the title, threw my stuff in, and I was like, this is a perfect beat around to Houston car, even if I got to drive it right back and get the Cosworth. The town car was perfect. I mean, it didn't have a check engine light on, AC worked. I was so excited to drive it. And the first night, I probably drove about 6 hours in total before night fell, and I was driving through the desert from Arizona to Houston, like really deep in there. And the light control module started overheating. I didn't know that was a thing. All of a sudden, in the middle of the desert, all the lights went off. And I had no headlights, no high beams, no nothing. So I'm driving by the light of the hazards. Every time it blinked, I could just barely see the road. And then occasionally they'd come back on, they'd turn back off. Sometimes they were flashing, sometimes the brights would be flashing. It was just going crazy. So I'm like, I'm gonna make it to the next town. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna just sit at a gas station till sunup, and I'm gonna just drive the rest of the way through. I gotta make it to Houston. Nobody's fixing this. I just won't drive at night. I made it to, I think, St. John, Arizona. Of course, small town, the first thing you see as soon as you get to city limits is a cop sitting right there. And all is well until headlights are on, everything's good. I was like, I just got to make it to that gas station that I could see and sit there. And the thing starts flashing its lights at the cop. So he swings around and pulls me over and he's like, what's your problem? I was like, it's the car. It wasn't me. He runs everything and he comes back. He's like, your license is suspended. I was like, what are you talking about? No, it's not. The guy's like, yeah, I can't have you drive this car, but I'm going to turn the other way because I know you're in the middle of nowhere and I'm not going to seize your license because you got to check in the hotels. Coolest cop. He's like, park in that parking lot and wait till I cannot see anything that's happening. So I parked in the parking lot and I sat there until sunup. And I called the DMV and there was absolutely no problem whatsoever with my license. So I called their court and I was like, this ticket that I got for... She's like, yeah, no problem. We'll just dismiss it. I don't know what happened there. A little cash grab or something. After I knew my license was good, I continued the rest of the way to Houston. And I got to Houston. I actually left the town car at a U-Haul store. And I was like, listen, I really need the 10-foot box truck. I just need to go pick up some parts and I'll be back. I'll put that on a trailer and I'll be out of your hair. Will you let me leave it here for a few hours? No problem. Took the U-Haul, went, collected all these really rare parts, and it felt like the Diablo all over again. I had to wrap all these things up and make sure nothing broke, and you can't bend this little quarter panel, otherwise this 3-year search is screwed. So I packed the U-Haul as gently as possible. I go and I get a trailer and I bring the town car. I start to go home and he calls me and he says, I need you to go to Tampa. Don't go home, go to Tampa. I said, what's in Tampa? He's like, I'll pay you a lot, a real E30 M3, not the parts, non-running, no engine, sitting for years, go get it. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like something I gotta do. I already have a truck full of E30 M3 parts. So I drove, my mom luckily lived in Tampa, and so I dropped the town car off in her driveway, went, loaded this E30 M3 on, and drove them both home. I don't know why they rent out those 10-foot box trucks to tow with, because that was the scariest tow of my life. The town car that I was towing from Houston to Florida was bigger than the entire truck. I've never felt more trailer sway in my entire life. This thing was uncontrollable over 55 miles an hour. But I got everything home safely, and then I had to go back out for the Cosworth. So I took a friend and we picked it up, started going around to a few ghost towns and things all along Route 66, stopped by a guy that I had actually bought an E36 M3 from, saw that he was still doing well in his little ghost town. My friend had flown home from Albuquerque and just left me to keep going the rest of the way. It was an uneventful few days, and then I had checked into, next to I think it was Arkansas, I had checked into the nicest hotel that I could find on Google, which really wasn't nice at all, but there was nothing around. And as soon as I pulled in there, it was like every room had a 90s and 2000s Mercedes outside of it. So I was like, there's something's going on here. I pull in and I park right by the office and I walk in thinking the guy's definitely going to say something about the Cosworth, considering he has nothing but vintage Benzes. Treats it like a normal day, doesn't say anything. So after he checks me in, I'm like, so what's up with all the Mercedes outside? He's like, oh, that's me. I actually work at this hotel for only 4 hours a week just tonight. So I was like, what's up with the Mercedes? He's like, I have 400 of those sitting in a field about 4.5 hours away. Do you want to come see them? And I didn't want to do a detour that big in the car, but I was like, yeah, why not? It's only 108 degrees. We'll be fine walking around a little mud pit of Mercedes. Not knowing, again, whether I was going to get killed or not, I followed the guy to just south of Memphis. And I get to the shop that is exactly what he describes. I mean, ankle-deep mud, but, he even had pagodas sitting in the mud. No, it's not for sale, don't ask. So, he had cool cars. There was actually an abandoned Maybach 57 in half lime green because half the wrap peeled off with Forgiatos back there in the mud. Of course I wanted that. I'm hounding him and hounding him and hounding him, and he just won't move on it. Whatever. Completed the trip in the Cosworth. It was 6,500 miles total. I drove it up the Blue Ridge Parkway, 6,500 miles from when I picked the car up in LA, and just every detour, every stop, everything. I put a ton of miles on that car, got it home, rolled through Times Square for a photo shoot, and I just had the sickest photos. I mean, Mulholland Drive, Vegas, Arkansas, just all over the country in a dream car. Now, as for the Maybach, I went back a few weeks later, funds ready to buy the car, and the guy who owned the shop that the car was parked at, he's like, well, listen, there's a much better abandoned Maybach 57 on Forgiatos just up the road. And I was like, you're kidding, right? Like, how many abandoned Maybachs on Forgiatos are there in Memphis? So they only made 1,100 of those cars to begin with. I guess half the population's in Memphis abandoned on Forgiatos. So he has me drive, and there's a baby blue on blue two-tone with a blue interior Maybach 57 sitting in a driveway over there. He gave me a sick price. I won't even say what I paid for the car, but I mean, it's probably the cheapest Maybach 57 ever. I mean, any YouTuber has said that. I'm probably beat them by half. So, didn't know if the thing even ran. Went to load it up on the U-Haul. It didn't fit on the U-Haul, but it fit on most of the U-Haul, and so I only had this Lincoln Navigator with me. I didn't plan on towing it back. By the time he gave me an extra, the OEM set of wheels, the trailer, the Maybach, all my stuff in the Navigator from this huge trip that I was on. I mean, it was over 10,000, especially adding me. It was over 10,000 pounds. So the truck did it absolutely fine. I actually got tagged on the way home in the 04 Rich group chat in a group on Facebook because I stopped at Buc-ee's, and all the comments, like some guy took a photo of me fueling up at the fuel island, and all the comments were like, oh my God, I saw that on I-95. I couldn't get my phone out fast enough. That was so 04 Rich. And the Maybach's a whole different story for another time, but I wouldn't have found the Maybach if I wasn't randomly driving through Arkansas and caught this guy on this one night 400 miles away from his mud field of Mercedes. And everything just happened by chance.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Premier Financial Services, and they are the perfect partner in your journey to own your dream car because their Simple Lease is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You'll get all the benefits of a leasing structure like lower payments and better tax treatment, along with everything we love about a normal exotic car loan where you can trade in and out at any time, always know where you stand thanks to their amortization table, and accumulate equity for whenever you're finished and ready for the next car. And Premier is great because they're wholly owned and backed by First Financial Bank, which means they have more buying power than any other exotic car bank or collector car bank in the United States, and their customer service is unmatched. Also, rates are lower than they have been in a very, very long time, so it's never been a better time to reach out to Premier, talk to their representatives, learn what you can pre-qualify for, and let them help you own the car of your dreams with Premier Financial Services.